Today I'd like to talk about what our objectives are as teachers as we get ready to start into level 1 and kind of frame that within the context of what our overall objectives are as students get older. So I'm going to start from the big picture and then we'll go down to talking about what we want to accomplish in level 1. On the big picture, FiddleQuest is designed to keep students playing. So everything that we do as teachers and as parents and community, we want it to be in the context of how is this going to help our student to continue playing music? And in terms of how does this fit in with students becoming really great players or at what level, those things are almost, in my mind, secondary, because students that continue playing are going to become better players, and only really the players that are that keep playing as adults are the ones that become really excellent players. So regardless of whether or not the objective is to create an excellent player or whether we just want to have somebody who's good enough to be able to enjoy music on a recreational level, we'll set that one aside. The objective here is we want students to continue playing, and we want music to add to the quality of their life as adults. And regardless of whatever level that might be at, music can add to the quality of your life. So the second thing in terms of our objectives is to be able to create an environment that cultivates intrinsic motivation. Motivation is something that I talk a lot about, and you can see a whole series of videos on music and motivation. But for right now, I want to just keep it simple and just say we are trying to cultivate intrinsic motivation in our students, and we want to start from the very first lesson. Intrinsic motivation, simply put, is students think this is fun, this is something I enjoy doing, it's something I want to continue doing. It's not done for any external reward or anything beyond the fact that it comes from within and it feels good, and I want that, and I want to participate in this. And finally, I suppose in terms of the big picture of what we're trying to do, is we're trying to build confidence and ease for students to be able to play with others. And by doing that, in order to do that, we need for them to have a lot of experience playing with others and just interacting with others. Think about it as if it's conversation, and we can teach students words, we can teach them ideas and thoughts, but until they put it into practice and converse with people and do it a lot, it's not something people are going to feel comfortable doing. So the same goes with music. Students can become really proficient players, but unless they have a lot of experience engaging and interacting with other musicians, they're not going to be lifelong players that engage in the community and really ultimately be able to connect with people. And that is one of the fundamental things that makes music impact our life and enhance the quality of our lives. Okay, so now let's talk about what our objectives in level 1 are. So a student comes to you, and let's just assume they've never been exposed to the violin. Perhaps maybe even this is their first time in a music lesson. They are excited. Typically, my students, when they come to me, are around 5 or 6 years old, sometimes a little bit older, and sometimes as young as 4. The first thing that we want to do is we need to train the parents. The parents are going to be the primary person that is going to be making this a positive experience for the student. And so engaging with the parents very early on is important. And the 30 minutes that we have with the student really is more like we're kind of setting a direction and then encouraging the parent to be able to carry that on throughout the week. So communicating with the parent and giving them good guidance about how to proceed, that is an important objective of level 1. And we'll go into more into sort of, well, what are these things that we want to tell the parent in a future video. But think of that as laying the groundwork is happening in level 1. And also another objective that we have in level 1 is we want to help the parent and help the student begin to develop a routine. So having the regular presence of music in their life in a positive way is starting that early on is a great way to get them going into music. So as opposed to music happens for that 30 minutes a week when they come to your lesson and nothing else happens, that's not a great way to start. So helping them to develop the routines. Again, we'll get more into that in some detail in future videos, but in terms of objectives of what we're trying to do, helping parents and students be able to identify how can I make this a routine and how can I make this fun. Another objective in level 1 is we want to be able to create a connection with our student. One of the primary things that keeps kids coming back to lessons and keeping them involved in music is that they feel connected. And it's not just connected with other musicians. That primary connection in the beginning is going to be between the student and the teacher. So building a strong, healthy connection, one where the student feels safe and they feel really positive about coming to lessons, keeping the right level of positive encouragement along with being able to fix any problems. So creating that connection, though, is a primary objective. We also want to be able to set the tone of what music and learning music is about. It's enjoyable, it's challenging, it's solving a puzzle, it's non-perfectionistic, and it's social. So we're trying to set a tone for learning music. All of these things, these first impressions, the first few months of lessons will cast a very, very deep impression on the child that they will carry pretty much for the rest of their life. So now, in terms of another objective, we're trying to develop some ear-hand coordination. So being able to, so now we're actually getting into the music part, but they're not going to get a lot of this solved in level 1, but we're starting to, they hear something and they can play it. And everything in level 1 is on open strings. And so right now it's just going to be, can you move that arm back and forth and make that bowing happen in rhythm. So we're just kind of starting to develop some of the early ear-hand coordination. As far as the technique as an objective, it only needs to be good enough. We don't want to spend too much time in level 1 trying to get everything perfect. So yes, we want to get their hand into that right position where they're holding that bow correctly, and we'll talk again in a future video about, well, what does that look like in terms of for people who haven't taught violin before, what do we want to shoot for? But we are going for the good enough technique, something that allows them to be able to play along with the recordings and make music and play with you without spending too much time on trying to get the technique just right. We have a whole life to get the technique right, and we will continue to work on it, and some students will get it really quickly and other students will take their time. And then finally, the last, in terms of the objectives within level 1, how does rhythm fit in? Rhythm is not something that's going to get taught within level 1. It's something that will be revealed in the sense of students that have strong rhythm because they've been exposed to a lot of music. You will find that out fairly quickly. There will be students that simply just have not developed that muscle yet in them. And it's not something that you want to hold them up simply because their rhythm is not great. Now, some students, you just have to take your time. But again, kind of like technique, it's just something that needs to be good enough. And think in terms of, can they play along with other kids? And for some, that is a totally good enough bar to get them over, in the sense of they don't have to be right on it, but they can be carried along by the momentum of other kids. And eventually the rhythm will happen. It just simply happens over time. But in terms of the objectives in level 1, training parents, developing a routine, we want to create a connection. We want to set the tone of the lessons and what it's like to learn music with you. Something is enjoyable and challenging and like solving a puzzle. We want to develop some ear-hand coordination, and we want to develop good enough technique and good enough rhythm. So those are the main objectives in level 1. It's the bar is not set too terribly high. One of the things that FiddleQuest teachers that have worked with other curriculums and other methods have said that they love the onboarding approach of FiddleQuest. There's a lot of songs that the students can work with that allow them to develop some of these skills and yet still feel successful as they progress from song to song.